Well, all right. Today on Quixotic Heights, we welcome Mark McCraw. He is a proud Oklahoman, internationally published children's book author, and a veteran of the United States Air Force. With life marked by service, imagination, and resilience, Mark brings powerful stories to young readers around the world. And I am so proud to have him here today and to call him a friend. Thank you also, Mark, for your service. Welcome to Quixotic Heights.
Hi, thank you very much. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so tell us, what is your quixotic dream?
My dream is to make a difference in the lives of children. That's my dream.
I love it. And what sparked your interest for writing for children?
Well, I've been dealing with children ever since I was a teenager. As summer camp counselors, YMCA, and it hasn't stopped. So, I mean, I've worked with infants all the way up to college students.
Wow. I got you beat, I've been dealing with children since I was a child. That's wonderful. So what about your Air Force? How does that influence your desire to tell stories?
Well, I use a lot of experiences that I have in the military and my children. I have three sons and a daughter, and I use those experiences from them being military dependents and trying to weave those into some of the military dependent books that I write.
Hmm. Okay, well tell us more about that. And did you travel a lot when you were in the military?
Yes, yes, I was in Okinawa, I was in Korea, and I did a lot of stateside bases, things like that. So I had opportunities to go to different countries. I think I've been to 10 or 11 different countries so far, I think.
Wow, that's amazing. And so what themes do you find yourself kind of gravitating to or returning to with your books?
Again, military dependence, about what they struggle and go through. Bullying is a big issue for me that I try to, that I try to portray more about how to stop bullying. And so I've written a book called Brains Over Brawn, and then I'm looking at working with another elementary school teacher probably next year on a joint book on bullying. So.
Mm, okay, well, tell me more about that because I've written a book about bullying too, and I think there's so many different ways to approach it. Why is bullying so important for you to write about?
Well, when I was younger, I got bullied a lot, and when I moved from one place to another, so that's how Brains Over Brawn came about a story about a young boy who moved from the south to the north and was in a northern school, got bullied, and then how he overcame it by using his brains, really, studying and trying to outsmart the other kids through a spelling contest.
Mm,
And after that, they stopped bullying, And so I have a lot of resources in the back of the book that have a lot to do with bullying that the parents can go over with the child. Not only if you're the one being bullied, but also if you're a bully, it also has a chapters that talk about, respect and things of those nature about how to deal with that issue as well.
so I don't know if bullies often consider themselves bullies. Do you think
Hmm.
that they would even be self-reflective enough to realize, I'm the bully in this situation here?
Well, I think there's so many influences coming from all over the place, and sometimes they can get it from parents, they can get it from media, they can get it from brothers and sisters, peers, and it's been starting even at the kindergarten level, which is very concerning. I've actually witnessed an incident where a child was being bullied because he was special needs, and I was at a grandparent day, and I saw that in the cafeteria, and I was very concerned that was going on,
hmm I'm finding that, oftentimes when we think about bullying, we think about children bullying other children, but it is way more vast than that, right? It's
Hmm.
adults bullying other adults or other children
Hmm.
and vice
Hmm.
versa. Sometimes you have the younger generation bullying the older generation. Um,
Hmm.
is there a common solution or something that's kind of universal, you think, in terms of how we can approach an end to bullying, regardless of, our age and background?
I think the bullying prevention, having bully prevention in schools is really important. We also need to, be sharing that at home as well about how to prevent bullying and how not to be a bully. And then really just it boils down to teaching people respect for other people. It really needs to start at the younger age, teaching them about respect and respecting differences and things of that nature.
Hmm. Yeah. What age group do you tend to write for?
I tend to write for the pre-K all the way to fifth grade. Those are and I switch up a little bit from book to book. So
Yeah. And are you an Oklahoma native, like born and raised?
no, no, I actually grew up around the Panhandle of Florida. So
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So are your books, in terms of setting and
hmm
location, where do they tend to be?
Well, I have several books that have, made up towns in Oklahoma, and so I put those in the books. But I also have, my hometown in the books too, as well. So it's just really a combination. You know, but I've lived in Oklahoma for quite some time, and then I left the state and then went to teach in Arizona. So then I came back. So,
Mhm.
uh, but no, I'm not. I'm not originally from Oklahoma.
Gotcha. Well, you're a prolific writer,
Thank you.
and I think it's amazing. I'm going to challenge you to write a book for each state in the U.S.
That would definitely be
Location, setting.
challenging. I'll be writing till I'm 110.
That's okay. I challenge you to live to 110 and keep on doing what you're doing
Uh,
because what you're doing is amazing. And
thank you.
it starts at the root, like you said, with childhood and helping them to grow up right, to be respectful and loving, not only for themselves, right, but for other people. Uh,
hmm
Talk about your international reach with these children's books. Have you done readings abroad via Zoom? What's your reach like there?
I've actually internationally, I have international distribution in over 22 different countries. And I've had books actually sold in different countries. I haven't done a lot of international virtual authors visits, but I'm looking at doing that in the future. So that's something to look into. I have participated in a contest where I had a person in the UK win one of my books and then wrote a review on UK Amazon. So I was excited about that.
Hmm.
And so it's exciting when I get a report that says, my books were sold in Germany, you know, um, and that kind of thing. So it's exciting to have that international distribution. So I'm hoping to do more with that. Uh, but and I do keep track of like the countries that they're in and things like that as a website. I go out on Google and find the different countries that they're in and things like that. So
Hmm. And are any of your books translated or on audiobook?
I have four of my books that are on Audible. I'm still working on Audibles that is, as you know, is time consuming as well because I'm also working with illustrators too. So,
Mhm.
um, but I am going to be meeting with some people to do some Audibles and here and there.
Great. And how are you finding your narrators?
Actually, just through events. I talk to people when they come up to an event that I'm at locally, and I ask them like, "Are your children interested in narrating? Because I really would like I'd like a child to narrate my books." And
Hmm.
so that's typically the way I do it. And sometimes I'll let them do the intro and the outro for Audible, but it doesn't always have to be a child. But sometimes I'll have the adults do the outro. No, excuse me, the intro and outro.
Yeah. Well, I might have a suggestion for you. Charlotte Chu, who's one of my audiobook narrators, she is a children's book narrator and she's out in the UK. So, having her being out there might give you a little bit more reach also to help promote your book, in another part of the country. Or
Oh,
the
thanks.
world, I should say.
Yes.
Yeah, she did Bus Stop Buddies for us, and was amazing. She actually won an award through the Book Fest um,
Okay.
for audiobook narration. But, anyways, so let's talk about your mantra. I read somewhere that your mantra is literacy, learning, and legacy. Tell us
hmm
more about why that is your mantra and what does that actually mean to you?
Well, actually, what that means to me is literacy is the number one issue right now with elementary school. age. It is very concerning that we're having those issues happening. Um, that there just seems to be a lot of issues going on um, with that.
Hmm. And then what about the learning and legacy part?
I think the learning and legacy part is a bit of an issue. The the kids need to be learning. That's the previous thing that they need to be doing, but always learning is a big thing.
Hmm.
You
Okay.
know, they need to be and a lot through my books, I do a lot of learning activities. I also try to have theme related books and those kind of things. So
Gotcha. Do you do a lot of school visits?
I do. I go to daycares and also go to schools. I've read to over 1,000 students. I've done virtual with some students in different states and things of that nature.
So what does a typical school visit look like for you?
Typically, I'll go to the library and I'll have different grades come in. I've spread it out over a week before. Sometimes it's a couple of days, and typically I'll get the different grade levels, and then I try to pick the books. I've got 12 books out now. And
Hmm.
so I try to pick out the books that are related to that grade as much as possible, their reading grade level. So um, to make it a lot easier on the grades and not to make it more complicated for them. And then we have a discussion about the lesson that we're learning.
Mm. So here's a tough question for you. Which
Hmm.
one of your 12 books is your favorite book, baby?
My favorite book, baby. That's always hard because I get asked that question a lot. But I do like. It used to be Babbling Betty, but now it's Nikolai Piccoli. And that's a book that a 10-year-old um, grandson and I wrote together, and so I was really excited about that, and that's been kind of my favored one right now, at least in the the days right now.
So what's Nikolai Piccoli about?
Nikolai Piccoli is about a boy who has a love of pickles and has a lot of adventures having to do with pickles and it's just a fun little book. When I was supposed to be in Florida at a book festival, we actually had the book festival actually order the book 2 days before the event when I
Mhm.
wasn't feeling well, and they actually read the book down there and to an audience. So I was really excited about that. And then that book has also been read on TikTok with a lady by the name of Ursula, who was also I think she was in a movie
Hmm.
in Hollywood, but she actually read the entire book on TikTok.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations on that. Do
Thank
you
you.
have any of your books with you that you could share a little reading or excerpt for us?
I don't have, let's see, I've actually got them packed up right now. So,
Oh no.
yeah, sorry about that. I got them packed up and getting ready to go to an event. So I'm actually going to be reading tomorrow. Well, no, actually Saturday. I'm going to be reading Saturday, but I also do Friday nights in the park and stuff like that. Now this Friday I'm off a little bit because of Father's Day weekend, but but yeah, it's exciting. It's an amazing journey. I really enjoy it. I enjoy writing. The first book I wrote called "Did You Come Home for Lunch" was a military dependent book, and that one went to the San Diego Festival of Books in 2022 and 23. It went to Times Square with 200 other authors, and in 2024 it went to the Miami Book Fair.
Beautiful. I love it.
So
Do you go to military bases and promote your books there or do some kind of readings for the, I don't know, the families?
yeah, yes, actually, I go about 3 times a year
Hmm.
to the military base, and I set up outside the base exchange, and then I have been communicating with the people who do the month of the military child. In April of this year, I gave away 121 books to military dependents, and then the year before I gave out like 77 to military dependents, and it's really my first love that I started out, and because of that, I've been invited back, and the children really enjoy it. The parents love it. And so it's me giving back to them because I was in the military. I had military children. I understand what they're going through. And so because of that, it's my passion. It's
Yeah, yeah. So I think a lot of people don't understand what military families go through. Can you share a little bit of insight into what, children, the spouses, what they go through?
Well, the spouses have to pick up a lot of slack when either husband or wife, depending on which one's in the military, or sometimes it might be both, are in the military. Is usually gone for a long period of time. Sometimes they could be gone for weeks, for months, for years. It just depends on what their mission is, and that's hard. That's hard on the family. It's hard on the children. It's hard on moving a lot from base to base. That's a big issue for children because they start to make friends. They get into school, and then next thing you know, they're in another school and another school, another school, and so that's the reason why I wrote another book, which was called "I Was Just About," and it was about a boy who did not like to move, and so that came about. So I had "Did You Come Home for Lunch?" I was just about, and then I wrote another one called "Living on a Military Base." Um, and that one had to do with a child who lived overseas in Okinawa and how he experienced being in the military, his parents being in the military, but also dealing with some of the things that you deal with when you're in another country, you know.
Mm.
Uh, and so, so we had a lot of different scenarios in there in the book. And then it really talks about how a young boy, because of his parents' military experience, later on actually got into the military.
Wow. Thank you for writing those books. I'm sure
hmm
they're very, very valuable. What made you decide to go into the military and why the Air Force?
Actually, it was down to when I was a junior in high school, I got a big old bag of all these different uh, job opportunities and schools all over the United States. And I was like, my goodness, I got to go through this big old bag of paper stack full of different things. What am I going to do with my life? And so I kind of had a fascination with the Navy, with looking at books when I was in the boys club, aircraft carriers and things of that nature. So I was always fascinated with that. But then I said, well, I'm not that great of a swimmer. So so maybe I'll go.
No
So it was
Navy
down
SEAL?
to no, it was down to the Navy to the Air Force, and so I chose the Air Force over the Navy. But yeah, but I had a heart for the Navy too. So at the time, and it was just I felt like that was a better move for me. And I had 4 years of junior ROTC, which helped out a lot. I was able to move up in rank faster when I got in the military, faster than normal, and so I was really excited about that. That the 4 years that I did helped me out a lot.
Do you think your interest in that stemmed from anybody in particular, or were any of your family members in the service?
Actually, my grandfather, he was in three branches of the service. When he passed away, he was 94. And my real dad was in the military. His dad was in the military. I think his dad and then the dad before him, I think they were all in the military. So we have a family of military. And I also have military members in my family with the National Guard. And I've had a son that was in the Air Force. One was in the National Guard. So.
Wow. Well, thank you again. That's a lot of generations of service right there and honor. Um, in your bio, you had mentioned that you're a disabled veteran. Would
mhm.
you be able to share a little bit more about your experience in that realm?
Being a disabled vet, I'm not saying it's a picnic because you're hurting all the time, and you have a lot of different medical issues and things of that nature, and sometimes it is taxing on you, daily, and so things that you used to be able to do, you can't do as much. You have to do things in little spurts, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. So that's kind of the life of being a disabled vet is you're dealing with a lot of pain, a lot of issues. And but I try to focus my energy on my brain and being creative and writing stories and trying to overcome those disabilities.
Hmm.
And it is always a challenge, no doubt, but but I think being the creative side that I felt like I have these stories in my brain, I got to get them out. And last night I had a thought on a book, and I immediately it was like 1 or 2 in the morning, and I started writing it down on my
Mhm.
messenger so I could remember what I was going to write in my book with some characters. But that happens to me a lot. I have to write it down immediately, or I'll forget it.
Yeah, yeah. Are you a pantser or a plotter, or what would you call yourself?
I'm more of a pantser.
Yeah.
you know, I I kind of have these thoughts and I just write them down. I text myself, I put them on Messenger, whatever, just to make it easier for me. And I do a lot of pre-writing. And then basically I just take the stories, I pre-write, I put them on my door with file folders, and I work on the next book. Then I come back to that story, and so I've already got like 3 or 4 stories already pre-written. It's just a matter of going to the next book, and I just finished up one book called Anna's Amazing Alaskan Adventure,
Mm-hmm.
and that one just showed up on Amazon yesterday, I think, and Walmart I think has it now, but it's the distribution's going around, and that's a fourth and fifth grade adventure book, and
Okay.
um, and so I'm excited about that, and I'm getting ready to work with another illustrator coming up in a couple of months on a second grade book, so I'm excited about that, and can't wait to do that book. I've been thinking about it a lot, and hopefully it'll be a fun little elementary school book. So
Oh, I love it. Congratulations.
thank
How
you.
are you finding your illustrators?
Well, I have an illustrator on TikTok. I have an illustrator on Fiverr that I use, Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com. I've been using them for quite some time. I find different vendors, and I kind of stick with the ones that I've been doing it quite a bit. The one that did this book, Anna's, was actually from the Ukraine, and she's written Iris Davidinko, and she's been the illustrator on 3 of my books. So, and she does a wonderful job doing the illustrations. She's really top rated, gets excellent marks and things of that nature. So, I typically try to stay with the same ones. I have had my daughter has actually illustrated one that did very well around the globe, and I've had a lot of comments on what she did as well. So really finding that team of people that you kind of stick with.
Yeah. What do you think about using your illustrator from the Ukraine to like do a translated work for you?
I haven't done that yet. I'm not sure if she'll do that or not. It just she has a lot of people coming in commissions and stuff, so I have to ask her. But I eventually would like to do some books. One of the things I noted that I was on a book bus doing as a volunteer, I noticed there's not a lot of English, Spanish books. There's not a lot of other languages out there for other books, and so that's something that I might look at in the future is doing a bilingual book of sorts. Because of that reason, there's just not a lot out there from
Mm.
what I've been told, and so that's an avenue that I might look at in the near future is to at least do a bilingual book of some sort.
Yeah. So are your what are your thoughts about AI with illustrations?
I don't like that. I I know that AI has its use. Um, I try to make sure things are as original as possible. I just don't want to go down that path of questioning, whether it's AI did it or AI didn't do it or whatever. But I look at it this way. I would rather it be my own work and the illustrator's work than somebody else illustrating it for me and making it up like that. It's just I feel more create. It's more creativity that way. I think we need to have that. AI has its use, of course, for editing and different things of that nature. But um, I would not. I personally would not do that. I just feel like it would. I'm losing creativity that way.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on that. It's
Hmm.
definitely a controversial thing right now, right?
Hmm.
What do you think is the hardest part about transitioning from the military life to the civilian life, but also going from being very, methodical, strict, and disciplined to letting that creativity flow where you are a pantser and you just let it flow, freely. Um, Can you share a little bit about your thoughts on that and what that was like for you?
Sure, sure. Yeah, because in the military, you're disciplined. I was in security police. I was also logistics specialist, and logistics, basically dealing with doing a lot of reading and presenting and stuff like that to commanders and stuff like that. Um, but in the logistics world, everything is coordinated out and things like that ahead of time. I find myself doing some things like that ahead of time in some ways, but in some ways I kind of break off from that and don't plot out things and just use plotting it every once in a while. And mostly whatever the creative juices that come out, I just start writing on them, and then, eventually I will organize it more and revise it and things like that. I had revised Anna, I don't know, at least 15 times in the last year or more, probably more than that. So, um, and that one was a little bit longer book of constant revising. So, and getting it the way we wanted it. So, it really is not about getting that stuff out as fast as you can. It's really about having good quality work and trying to make sure you do that. So,
Hmm. Were there any characters that you've created that kind of surprised you that maybe you had one idea and then by the time you were done, that character was slightly different than what you imagined?
yeah, I think so. I think Babbling Betty was one. Of course, obviously, some of the things that happened in Babbling Betty with the babbling a lot and stuff like that, uh, it kind of went to a different turn where I actually used a story that I had having to do with bubblegum and the kid going on a trip for a long period of time, and Dad said, I'm done with the talking, so here's a wad of bubble gum. That turn just kind of went that direction because I started putting my life in there when I was a kid, and of course I babbled a lot then too. So,
So you're
so
babbling, Betty.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So some of that stories that came about, it kind of took a turn in that direction. So I didn't expect it to happen that way. It was just that story came about, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to have Babbling Betty go through the same thing that I went through as a kid, and on those things, and it was kind of funny how it turned out.
Were there other characters who were inspired by real life kids or people?
I think a lot of them are in some ways, because a lot of my books are dedicated to children and grandchildren that I have, but they're not necessarily all of them are specifically that way. But I use a lot of characters in stories that are actually have been real at one time. And what I mean by that is that um, they're real people. In some ways, I've changed their name a little bit, but obviously for the fiction part of it. But I didn't specifically name names,
Hmm.
especially in the bullying book, because I didn't name the school and I didn't name on purpose. I didn't name the teacher or any of that. So I tried to be very sensitive of that, um, and not to put them out in the wind like that. So.
Hmm. What's your process like from idea to publication?
So when I get this idea, I begin to pre-write as fast as I can, as much as I can. I just download dump. And as I'm going along, I sometimes I'll be sitting at a relative's house and I'll just automatically have a thought and I'll start texting myself on it and then I'll add it later on to my pre-writing. And then once I've done that, I go through the writing processes of revising and editing and drafting and all that stuff. I'll go through all of that, and sometimes the revising is, like I said, is a lot of revising. And then at that point, then I start working with the illustrator because the illustrator takes a little time. And then I have the illustrator working on it with my text, and then I begin to work with the formatter. And sometimes the illustrator is the formatter. It just depends. Not always does the illustrator want to format. Sometimes they'll just do the illustrations. And so once I work with a person that's a formatter and get it all in the right direction, then I'm ready to get it published and get the files uploaded and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, I agree with you in terms of having the illustrator also do the formatting.
hmm
It's just personally, I think it's helpful, more helpful
hmm
when you have it's more seamless, right?
Mm-hmm.
To
Mm-hmm.
have that. So, well, that's wonderful. And then in terms of editing, do you do all the self-editing first? Do you hire an editor after that? What's the editing process look like?
Well, I have hired editors. I mean, I use, Word programs. I have used editing programs before. It's just I kind of vary a little bit on it. I had an editor one time that I thought was really good, and I was just kind of like, I don't know, maybe I need to look into a different editor. Um, Mainly, it's just because the person had a editing credentials, but it didn't seem like they were editing, like they were making a lot of common mistakes, and so I decided I was going to look into other avenues, So that's always still an avenue, and I also mention that when I do events out in the park and things of that nature, always saying I'm always looking for editors and formatters, and so I put that out there too. So,
Yeah.
and that's how I actually picked up a possible narrator is through an event like that. So.
Yeah, I always think it's important that as writers, we ask for samples, whether
Mm-hmm.
it be sample edits or
Mm-hmm.
sample of the illustrations, and even with the illustrators, to make sure that it's a work for hire situation where you actually own the work, the rights
Mm-hmm.
to it. Things that, authors and writers, especially debut ones, they don't necessarily know about and
Mm-hmm.
know what to ask. But let's go back in time to your very, very first book. First of all, how long ago was that?
Okay, so I started writing that book, Did You Come Home for Lunch in 2020. It
Hmm.
took 9 months to go through the publishing company that I went through, and just going back and forth to the illustration departments and different departments that I was going through, and really, really fine tuning the way I wanted the book to be. And it's funny because in the book itself is I'm actually in the book, but I wait to see if anybody's going to notice when I read the book. And they go, I'll say, there's somebody in the room that this kind of looks familiar. Do you know anybody that might be in this book? And then they'll say, that's you. I'm like, yes, it is. And so it's kind of neat to see that, and it's kind of a story of my life, and also at the same time, it's sharing a message. And I get to share with military and non-military about it. I never leave out the non-military children. I always say, you know what, your parents go away for a while. They might be in business or whatever. So I also include them as well. I don't want to ever leave them out. So I try to make all the kids feel comfortable about, what being military or non-military. So
Yeah. Do you remember what it was like for you to hold your first book in your hands, like the real thing?
yes, yes, I
Tell
do.
us
I
that
was
emotion.
I was so excited. I recorded it and all that stuff, and then I did a lot of different things. I was so excited. To have the book out. I was so excited to have it at the first book fair. Just and I still feel that way. I've got some books coming in that they just wrote and they're already on Amazon, and I don't actually have the physical copy of the book, and so that one's coming in the mail from the printer. So I'm excited to. I'm like a kid in a candy shop when it comes in, so I'll get excited when they show up. But because I know it's something I've put my heart and soul into.
Mhm. Yeah. How did you find your first publisher?
Actually, I just did research. I heard good, I heard bad, and so I kind of weeded through all of that. I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. They did everything they said they were going to do. It was self-published, but I had a lot of the input into the way the book was going to be done, and so I was excited about that. And then went on and went to another publisher and published I Was Just About and published a book called The Toilet Paper Caper of 2020. And that one was about children actually learning about people taking advantage of other people, whether it's toilet paper, whether it's, water, eggs, whatever. It's really teaching kids that it's not okay to take advantage of people. And
Yeah,
that's the
the
reason why
consequences.
that's the reason. And and a lot of times a lot of book publishers, they don't like potty humor and stuff like that, and that was not the intention of the book. The intention of the book was to explain to people, to kids, about things that were going on in the real world. And I actually had a publisher said leave 2020 off. I'm like, no, don't leave 2020 off, because 2020 was an important year.
Mm-hmm.
And this was through a publisher that I didn't go through, and eventually got it published through to another publisher. But and so I've actually, it's kind of neat. I've actually had a young boy, was I think he was a homeschooler, that I donated a book at a homeschool event, and I think the boy is actually reads that book on YouTube. So I'm excited about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's
that
it's good.
2020 is a very important year, right? And
Hmm.
so you're teaching, there's obviously a life lesson there, but then you're also teaching a little bit of history,
Hmm.
with toilet paper in 2020.
Yeah, and it's it's just this. And then I explained to someone, like, it's a shame that had to happen like
Hmm.
that. That it just really, it was really sad that people were doing that. And when you go back on the internet and you look at stories, and you're like, I can't believe that people were actually taking it so much advantage of people.
Yeah,
And so that's the kind of life lessons that I try to throw in there. And I've had people, it's like, why don't you write books about animals and do this and that, and dinosaurs? And I'm like, I know they're popular, I get it, but that's not what I choose to do. I choose to do theme related books.
yeah, and I'm glad you do because it's staying true and authentic to you, to your brand.
Hmm.
It's staying true to and authentic to your voice
Hmm.
and your niche, right? I mean,
Hmm.
there's a ton of books out there about, and it's the safe way to go with animals because you don't
Hmm.
have to necessarily address diversity,
Hmm.
cultural diversity, ethnic minorities,
Hmm.
LGBTQ necessarily, right? Like it's just
Hmm.
a catch-all. Uh,
Hmm.
and sometimes those books aren't on the banned books list because
Hmm.
they're cute animals, whatever. But so what you're doing, I think, is very brave
Hmm.
and very unique. And I'm glad that you're continuing to do that and publishing more and more books. Um, are there any particular children's book authors that really influence your writing?
I actually, there's an Oklahoma author named Tammy Sayer. She was actually at a Society for Children Book Writers, I believe, an illustrators conference a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
And I went to a session of hers, and really she taught me to make sure there's literary elements in my books, make sure that that there's some, she went through the different structures of how she writes books, and she's written over, I don't know, 20, 29 or something like that. I don't remember the exact number. It's on up there. But a lot of what I'm doing, I got it from her,
Mhm.
from her training. And plus I also have a mentor who's a Michigan author, Diana Plapa. Well, Diana Catherine Penn is her name, but her pen name. But she's actually been a mentor of mine, and so I think that's really important to have a mentor in this journey.
Absolutely. I think mentors and book coaches are very valuable if you can find one. They're hard to find. And
Hmm.
I love your book titles. They're always to the point, but funny and sometimes a little cheeky. I feel like you do a good job between balancing the entertainment versus with the life lessons, that are in the book. How do you come up with these titles and do you have I mean, right now we have AI, right? But did you just come up with them on your own?
Yes, yeah. So basically, what I do is some authors will actually write a book and then do the title. I do the title first, and then I wrap my story around the title. Um, and of course, "Did you come home for lunch?" was an actual saying of what my child said during that time. So, and the same thing with using a lot of dialogue. I'll record a lot of dialogue and things like that. So I use a lot of dialogue that's used from the children and grandchildren, things of that nature. Funny things they say, like seriously instead of seriously, uh, you know, um, and things of that nature. And so I use like nicknames, like Trash Panda, Wrecking Ball. Those are some of the things that I use. So I use a lot of that. One of the books that I wrote called "The Problem Is," I actually used dialogue because there was a child that was actually saying, "Hey, you come over at 47, and then you come over at 21." They had no clue what time was, but it was just funny things like that I tried to take the dialogue and add it into the book because it just made it funnier that way.
Mm-hmm. What's been most surprising for you as you go along your publishing journey from beginning to now?
Really, what surprised me is I never thought I'd get past the first book, honestly. I had a publisher in the first year and a half say, I can't believe that you've written so many books. Because I think in the first year, I think I wrote like 6 books or something like that. And so half of my books were written in the first couple of years. And the other half, of course, this year, a little bit behind on what I wanted to do on my goals, but which I think it's important to have goals. And if you don't fulfill it, that's okay too. It's not, I mean, it's just a goal. But you have to have some kind of goal of what you want to do and the direction you want to go in. So I try different things. I really do. And I think I've got some good stories coming along. I can't wait to get them out there, because I think they're going to be funny. Some funny stories, and I've had three stories that have been in anthologies, and I'm hoping to have a fourth one, hopefully in January of next year. It'll be in a fourth anthology, so we'll see.
Wow,
Uh,
that's incredible. So let's go back a little bit to your mentorship,
mhm.
because you learn a lot of what you're doing now, the craft of writing through your mentor. Is there a list of boxes that you check off, or is there an arc of some sort, a formula that you go through to make sure your book follows the same kind of structure?
Well, over the years, I've changed it a lot. I've actually, put more things and resources in the back of the book, where they can find my books, the ebooks, things of that nature. I've kind of added those as I learned a little bit more along the way. I started putting more resources out there, and where I can find my books electronically through Audible, things of that nature.
Mhm.
Um, I've tried to make sure that I do that. Tried to make sure I kind of stay with a format of some sort that I think that it's easy for them to like a logos and things of that nature, website addresses, things where they can go to directly and find my blogs and interviews and things of that nature is very helpful. I have an author who actually runs my website for me. I just input the information to them, and then they put that in there for me. And so it's very helpful to have a team. I also have a social media coordinator who also does my social media as well. So.
Great. But in terms of the actual story arc or the character arc, do you have
hmm
a rhythm that you follow?
Not really. I just mainly I don't use like a lot of different plotter or anything like that. I had thought about doing that at one time, but no, I really don't. I don't. I just come up with the characters, the ideas, and really just go through the story, and put them in there, and then build on those characters. But there's things like graphic organizers out there that you can use for characters and stuff like that. I just have it in my mind what I'm going to do, and a lot of times I just put it out there, and when
Mhm.
I'm writing and stuff. But that's an option to look at as well, is to use
Yeah.
graphic organizers. They help you kind of get in the right direction. I've thought about using those, but I don't necessarily use them right now. But in the future, that might be a possibility of doing that, streamlining that. So.
Well, of course, you're a pantser, so maybe not.
hmm hmm Yeah, yeah, but I've thought about it. I'm actually going to read a book and actually teach a class at a homeschool conference coming up this month.
Hmm.
And I'm actually going to use one of my books to actually teach. I'm going to read it, and the audience will actually be just like their children. I'll be going through the whole presentation with them, but at the same time, I'm teaching the parents about how you can use a book to learn from, and to learn those key concepts that they're learning in school,
Hmm.
just by using a book.
Yeah. Um, I'm a pantser like you. And so when I first started writing my journey, I had my husband redid the entire wall of my office into a whiteboard. And
hmm
I wrote like the first 20 chapters, and my in the end, it ended up being twice as many chapters. Didn't stick
hmm
to my plan, my outline at all. I tried Scrivener, some of the other things, and I just realized, you know what? I'm just a pantser, and I'm just going to embrace it. um,
Yeah,
but
yeah, that's true.
I will say that I do love Save the Cat for
hmm
novel writing
hmm
because one of the tools in there is, which is really great, is if you can find it, it's a calculator. In
Mm-hmm.
terms of you plug in the word count. Let's say you're writing a middle grade children's book and it's 40,000 words. The
Mm-hmm.
the calculator will tell you, okay, at X amount of words, at the 10,000 mark, this should be what's unfolding in your story. This is should be what your character might be experiencing. And it
Mm-hmm.
me that helps guide, okay, my character should I'm gonna throw another, challenge at this character to
Mm-hmm.
overcome. So I do recommend that, but in terms of just letting the character tell you himself what he needs to experience to grow. That I think is the beautiful thing about creative writing, right?
Yeah, it is, and yeah, it sure is. And I've written stories where I thought I was, because I was blindsided and my point of view kept changing. I have actually had somebody go in and look, and I redid one time because I had looked at the story so long that I didn't realize I was changing point of view. So
Mm-hmm.
these are things in trial and error that you learn over time.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's good to have lots of eyes on your story, and the more eyes you have, the better it's going to turn out, and they're going to, as long as they're not just saying it's good, or basic general statements like that, tell me, what do you see? Is there something that's doesn't sound right? Does it not look right? Because you
Yeah.
do get that tunnel vision because it's your baby.
Yes.
You want it to come out right, but sometimes things are happening that you need to change or whatever. And so I've done that before. I've gone back to an editor and rechanged the whole thing. So
Mhm.
it's just a matter of trial and error. So
Well, that's so important because when we write, we're writing initially for ourselves, right?
mm-hmm,
But once you publish it, that book no longer belongs to us. It belongs to
mm-hmm,
the public, the world, for them
mm-hmm,
to discover. So we really do need to have those different lenses, having the critique team or the beta reading team or, just
mm-hmm,
editorial team. See that I did head hopping in the beginning too, in my early, writing career, because you don't know what you don't know. You just know you have a story
mm-hmm,
in you that you need to tell.
mm-hmm,
And through my editing process, I had to change my entire book from third person point of view in past tense. I wrote it in past tense, third person point of view.
mm-hmm,
And I rewrote the whole thing in present tense, first person point of view,
mm-hmm,
and which is not a common thing to do
mm-hmm,
writing.
mm-hmm.
But it just changed everything, the perspective and the story, um, so profoundly. And I was able to see from the character's point of view, what was unfolding, which for me personally, I thought that was valuable. I had sensitivity readers too. I don't know if that's something that you use, uh,
Mm-hmm.
but if you can find sensitivity readers, that's always helpful too, because they definitely add a perspective that you don't think about, you know.
Yeah, and I also use programs to do reading ranges and stuff like that, readability, because I want to know and make sure that the readability levels are on track. And then also, like the book that I just put out, Anna's Amazing Alaskan Adventure, I intentionally made the book 5 by 8, which, because several of my books are written that way for older kids. I was a fifth grade, sixth grade teacher. I also taught second grade. And a lot of children, they like to, put the book in their back pocket. They like put it in a backpack. It's just easy to travel with. And so I intentionally, strategically put the those books in early chapter books in that format, the 5 by 8. So.
Hmm. And what other formats, trim sizes do you have for your books?
I use different ones. I've used 8 by 10, 8.5 by, different ones, 8.5 by 11, it just depends. I kind of vary it up. They're not all the same kind. There's different formats, but typically that's what I do for the older grades,
Yeah.
um, is for that, especially in the early chapter books. I don't do a lot of writing of long chapters or anything like that. I kind of prefer to stay in the lower grades, but I do switch it up. I kind of switch up the books. When I have them on my display table, I tell them, you're welcome to buy any of the books, but just to let you know, this one is kind of a first grade book, or this one's kind of a kindergarten book or whatever. So, and then it's up to them. It's up to them if they want to do it, that's fine, or maybe they want to get it for a nephew or whatever. Um, I don't discourage them, of course, but I also just let them know what the readability is of the book. So,
Fantastic. Okay, let's have a little fun. I like to do lightning rounds.
hmm
May ask some questions and you can just answer whatever is at the top of your head. Yeah?
okay. hmm
Okay. Favorite children's book growing up?
My favorite children's book, is that what you
Hmm.
said? Okay.
Yes.
That would be Dr. Seuss, Cat in the Hat. I always loved the movies. The Lorax, all those different movies and the books, they were my favorite. So, I wish I could have been in the mind of Dr. Seuss because he's just amazing on the way the books are written. So,
Yeah, I would agree with that. What about comfort food that you can't live without?
I could live without it, but I like Raisinets, chocolate
So when you go to the
Raisinets.
movie theaters, is that what you get?
Yeah, yeah, I like the Raisinets. I can't do popcorn that much anymore, so.
Oh my God, my husband does Raisinets too. That's hilarious. Chocolate covered Raisinets or raisins.
Yeah, yeah.
What about a word that best describes your life journey so far?
I would say rewarding, very
Hmm.
rewarding. For me, this is a journey that I never thought possible. And people are surprised because when I go to book events, they'll say, "How much do I owe you?" I'm like, You don't owe me a thing. I'm giving back to the kids.
Hmm.
It's not about that for me. And then, I've had authors that tell me like they don't agree with that, but this is my journey. This is a journey that I chose. I never thought I would start this journey. It just came about with all these stories, and that's what I want to do. I want to make a difference. So,
So beautiful. Okay, a superpower that you would give to either yourself or your characters.
a superpower, I would say resilience, being resilient, being super resilient to everything that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that would be awesome.
What would be your dream place to do a book reading?
I would love to do a book reading in Korea because I was stationed in Korea. I would love to do that. I've been to Korea multiple times through military tours and being in the military and stuff like that. I would just love to do that. And I've actually seen my book on a Korean website, so I was excited about that.
Hmm.
Um, and so it's kind of neat to see when you see the book in a different, like, oh, that looks expensive, but then you realize it's in Australian dollars or it's in, and stuff like that. So it's pretty neat to see that and go out on the internet and like, where is it at? Yeah, oh, yeah, wow, it's in the United Arab Emirates. Who would ever thought?
Okay, last one. If you could pick one book that be turned into a TV series or a movie or whatever, what would it be and who would be the main character?
So
Who
if I
would
could turn
play?
one of my books, yeah,
Yeah.
uh, I would say. Uh, I don't know. I think if I'd like for my Nikolai Piccoli to be in a story, like like to be like a have a pickle car and stuff like that, and have somebody somebody driving it, somebody famous. I don't know. I really don't know on that one. You stumped me on that one. Yeah. But
There's
I
gonna be
but
a
I
lot of pickles on that set.
Yeah, I think I would love it. I'd like to like be in a commercial, because the book talks about the boy being in a commercial and publishing a book, and he actually, and I asked the children like, did this actually happen? They go, yeah. So the boy in the story is actually talking about publishing a book. He's talking about being in a movie. So I think in a commercial, you
Hmm.
know, I would like, anybody like it would be funny like Tom Cruise or somebody to talk about
Yeah.
pickles,
Oh, or Robert
mission,
Downey Jr.
well,
So
and I say that
good.
because Mission Impossible, Mission
Yeah.
Impossible and it's pickles, things like that. But maybe Tom Cruise or something, talking about pickles or driving a pickle mobile or something like that on his set for Mission Impossible or what I
Oh
don't
my
know.
gosh.
Just
Okay.
something funny.
We'll throw that out in the universe and hopefully we can manifest it. I love it. Thank you, Mark. Okay, so are there any topics that we didn't cover that you want to share or talk about or promote?
Well, mainly, again, every April is a month of the military child, so I'd highly encourage people to reach out, not only just during the month of April. Of course, Read Across America. I try to get involved in that when I'm asked to do things like that. Reading across your state and that kind of thing. I think that's important to be involved in those kind of activities. I try to, again, we talked about bullying. I try to talk about moving. I try to talk about problems and how children can overcome their problems and things like that. So I really think that those kind of things are important. In all my books, I actually have written all the different themes that are out there, and so I try to do that for each book. So it just makes it easier for the teachers and the principals, and they can say, "Oh, okay, this is the guy that's coming in, and this is the kind of things he's going to talk to our kids about." So,
Hmm.
and that takes a lot of respect there too. So, because they know up front, what it's all about, and they're not blindsided.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's next for you, other than doing more books and author visits and stuff like that? What do you have anything up your sleeve that you can share? A little teaser?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I'm possibly looking at going to an international book festival in the near future. We'll see how that comes about.
Hmm.
It mostly will just be collaborating. It won't be selling books or anything like that, but it'll actually be going to an international event. I've been to some regional events. I've got a book festival coming up in October in another state, which I'm excited about that. I've been invited to do that. I was invited to a book festival in March, but I got sick. So I don't know if I'm going to be going to that one next year or not. But I do go to a couple of those things. I have been doing podcasts. I was on a podcast the other day, doing a podcast obviously today with you as well. And I'm doing another podcast on Monday. So I'm excited about that. It's just really exciting times. Got some books that I'm going to be working hard on. I can't wait for that. And I've got some writing contests that are coming up in the fall that I'll participate in, the National VA Creative Arts Festival.
Hmm.
Then that's a festival with a bunch of veterans that write, and we'll see how that goes. Nationally, it's pretty tough. There's about 7,000 people that participate, and then they do a local event, and I've been very fortunate. The last couple of years, I've won 5 first place ribbons
Wow.
for manuscripts locally. So I'm
Yeah.
excited about that. One of my books, Nikolai Piccoli, was in the top 10 bestsellers in March of last year, so I was excited about that. And I just see a great journey happening. A lot of daycares now are starting to ask me to come in and talk to them. I've been a guest speaker this year, which I never thought I'd be doing a guest speaker. I've been on some author panels. Been excited about that. So there's
Mhm.
great possibilities out there.
Wonderful. Like you said, rewarding. Sounds like
Hmm.
there's a lot happening for you. And I thank you for being on the show. And I wish you the best of luck and all the successes and continued success for you. I can't wait to see Nikolai Piccoli coming out of, Tom Cruise's mouth. And let's manifest that and make sure that happens. We'll tag him. We'll
Yeah,
tag him when
Mission
the podcast comes
Mission
out.
Impossible. Yeah, just see if he has a pickle car, and yeah, I kind of thought about that with Mission Impossible, but you know, but that's one of the things that the boy talks about is being in commercials and things of that nature. So, just kind of some future things that actually did happen and some that we hope to happen someday.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, where can listeners find you and follow you and learn more about you, as well as to book you for events?
They can reach me at Mark MARK McCraw MCCRAW at markmccraw.com. That's my email address. They can also my website is www.markmccraw.com. That site is actually going to be moving from Weebly over to Wix probably in the next 60 days. So it's probably easier to go do that through the email until that gets transferred over. The website and everything will get transferred over. That usually takes a little while for all the materials to be moved from one site to the other.
Hmm.
But they can also find me on Amazon. I'm on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, bookshop.org. You can find my books there. You can also find them on Audible. You can find them on ebooks, Rakuten Kobo. You can find them on Overdrive, Libby. You can find some in the local library. I've got several books in the Metro Library, and I've got several that are in the state of Florida, in Okaloosa County and Santa Rosa County.
So you can be found, is what you're telling me.
Hmm. Hmm.
Are you on social media?
I am. I am. Yes, you can find me on social media. It's Mark.McCraw3. You can find me there on Facebook. But if you go to my website, markmccraw.com, you'll find my blogs, my interviews, my books. That site is still active. It'll be active until probably the 1st of July, and then it'll switch over. But up to that point, you'll be able to on the website. You can also follow me on Amazon, um, and put my name in the Amazon search bar, and you'll find my books there as well. And so, yeah, so I'm really excited about it. It's fun. It's I think even my blood pressure even changes when I go to the doctor. They always say, when you're talking about your books, your blood pressure seems to go way down. I'm like, yeah, that must be because of my passion for books. So,
Yes, yes.
uh-huh,
Talking about your book babies. I love it.
yes.
Love it. Well, thank you, Mark, for sharing your heart and your stories with us and helping us to go through this journey with you. It really reminds us that stories can rise from the quiet resilience that you have through the military and your upbringing and just reaching young hearts across the world. So thank you for your military service as well, for your storytelling. And
Thank you.
it's just you're amazing. You're a gem. So listeners, as we wrap up, just a reminder, if you loved today's episode, please do subscribe and give us a lovely review. We are growing as a podcast and we hope to reach new listeners. And then, of course, be sure to pick up all of Mark's books. They are amazing, and we would love to have a Goodreads review, bookshop.org review, Amazon review, whatever, because as you know, books are amazing for our young readers, but it helps others to discover new authors, right? And take a chance on a new author that they may not know about. So with that, I would say have a blessed day. Thank you again for tuning in, and until next time, keep imagining and keep going out there and doing you authentically. Ciao.
Bye.